when conference time approaches, in March or so, we start thinking about what some of the issues are. And I realized that for me personally, I've been working with and writing about HP calculators for 50 years. Now, I don't know about you, but 50 years seems like a long time. And so I was thinking, what has been the driving force for doing this? And of course, like all of us, it's the enthusiasm of that first incredible calculator that we obtained and used and so forth. But I also had a second objective, let's say call it objective number 2, and I'll get into that a little bit later. I didn't do so well on objective number 1, but I think I did pretty good on objective number 2. And the reason for that was if you go back 50 years, and if you think calculators, if it wasn't for all of the work done by, Jake and all the people in this room, you couldn't find stuff. Simply because technology has changed. Okay, now we got to go.
Been equals greater than on that slide. Shouldn't that have been greater equals?
Okay. Okay. Over the 50 years, in the very early days, and it was mentioned earlier today, or earlier in the day by another presenter, that in the early days we didn't have a personal computer, text editors, email, internet, or even personal digital cameras. Yes?
Cell phones.
Yeah, but you don't really need a cell phone to write.
But it replaces most of those.
Oh, absolutely, yes, absolutely. In fact, in the early days, especially with the HP65, one of the brochures that HP put out says, is this a computer or not? And the computer guys really resented the fact that we called our machines computers. And yet any definition you could make, they qualified. Now, I won't get into that, that's a separate topic. And we considered, because they were shirt pocket, that they were personal, all right? And for me, the distinction I make would be an alarm clock keeps time, and your watch keeps time, but the watch is really personal because the watch is always with your person. So in thinking about the overall topic, I came up with 10 categories of documents. Newsletters, patents, user manuals, news reports, analysis, books, magazines, letters. Letters kind of strange. Programs and conference papers. And actually this might be a list of categories for technical writing. And we'll get into that in a minute. As far as calculators are concerned, from 1974 to 2013, I edited 6 calculator newsletters, and that activity was built upon previously editing other newsletters. I edited 2 different amateur radio club newsletters, and I edited a newsletter from a company I was working for at the time, which was Staytech, and they made quartz crystals. These are all listed. 65 notes, PPC journal. Computer journal PPC, you might say, well, why is that there? Because it says even in the title, computer. And the whole idea behind that was that we've got this PC coming up, and supposedly it's going to take over the world, and we've been very active writing calculator programs, so we need to edge the readership into computers. PPC Calculator Journal, Chew Chronicle, and HP Solve. And I was looking back over HP Solve, and I don't remember the numbers for the years that each of these happened, but I did notice that when I took over the editorship of HP Solve, it was exactly 50% of the issues I edited versus the other half. Number 2 in our 10 categories, new patents. People like Eric Smith especially, who hung out in patent office. Didn't you hang out in the patent office during your breaks in the early days or something?
Yeah, local depository library.
Yeah. And the idea there was that if HP filed a patent and we didn't know what that was about, oh, that could be the basis for a new machine. Oh, we're eager for new stuff, right? There was, and Jake can shout out some of the details, but there was a fellow who had produced a, what was it called, Jake?
Latrum XQ2.
Latrum XQ2.
Yes. And he had done a brilliant job of taking all the 65 keys and reduced them to 16. I never quite grasped the concept there, and I think it was it Conklin? David Conklin. Who wrote the ROM?
Dave Conklin.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was actually a ROM. You plug it in your 41 and say, great, this ROM is going to take and reduce these, 35 keys on the 65, down to 16. Of course, you're busy pressing more keys, but And then, of course, this is a project that I worked on, and it's called the Master Patent List for all of HP's calculators, both the desktop and the handheld. And I stopped doing that in 2009. I'm not sure, I don't remember the process that I used to find all these patents. So I'd have to rethink that process, but we advanced with Google improving. It would be very easy and not very long to actually bring that up to date. And of course, haven't seen anything from the new licensees as far as new machines are concerned, although legacy machines, I guess, would in some ways be thought of as also new machines. Okay, here's an example. Oh, it didn't come out too bad. A lot of text. Here's the first opening page of the master patent list. Now, part of this objective number 1 for me is the fact that we're documenting what's happening. Now today, documenting is, I take a video camera, all the kids, they don't write papers, kids don't even know how to read and write anymore. They go out with a video camera and some of them get very good at it. So here's the opening page of the master patent list. This happens to be dated July 11th, 2009, version 10. And I just sequentially numbered the line numbers for reference, the patent number, the date the patent was issued, the title of the patent, related model, and the inventors. And then the highlighting is for the handheld machines so that you can sort those out, although sometimes it's not really obvious and conclusive simply because a patent gives you how to improve memory in some way, and that can be used for both desktop and handhelds. Oh, that's all. Oh, okay. I thought I may have included more. Okay, category number 3, Advanced Users Reference Guide. I participated in that project. Some of you remember that. Review of HP's manuals. In the early days, I would go up to Corvallis and visit, and I'd spend 3 days there. And of course, this was a big deal for HP. So, being HP, Nelson arrives at 9 o'clock, and from 9 o'clock to 9:30, he's going to be doing this and doing that, and then they schedule out all 3 days and really kept, maximum use of their employees' time and what have you. And I remember one visit, the topic was user manuals. And we all love to criticize user manuals, even the ones that we write ourselves. And one of the comments I'd made in one of these visits, I said, well, some of your stuff, and manuals and brochures and other stuff, you don't even number the pages. And they were just all upset at that. And I said, well, let me show you some examples. And I laid them all out on the table, and they said, oh. And of course, in terms of manuals, the PPC ROM manual is an example of a lot of people working hard and saying, we the users want user information in the manual, and we blocked it out in terms of, each section, and we followed that outline for each and every of the 153 PPC ROM routines. Number 4 category is news reports, and I need to emphasize that when I proposed, I suggested to Dave to put these 2 titles on the website. As we got closer to the conference, I realized that I really wasn't going to get this presentation finished. And Bob got on my case, and who was the other person? Oh, Gene, okay. No, the other one that you proposed, while it's interesting, it's not directly related to calculators, and we really want you to do this one. So, okay. News reports, CES product reviews. Jake, are you still going to CES every year? Yes, Jake is. I stopped going when it became not as productive in maintaining the relationship with HP for the club. HP announcements, of course, and we had new products, categories in the newsletters and that type of thing, and specific columns for all kinds of things. And one particular column sticks in my mind, and it was the HP 25 column? Who wrote that? Jake, do you remember? Anyway, he wrote these columns, and the 25 had limited memory, and so the programs had to be super efficient and really well thought out because the memory was small and so on, and the speed of the machine was reasonable. So he published these programs in the newsletter columns, and then it came out, I don't remember how, that he never even owned an HP 25. It was totally coming out of his brain. Never tested them. He wrote these programs. They all worked great, and he never owned an HP 25. Analysis. This is a favorite topic for users. We do it all the time. We did it in presentations here, especially with respect to HP and the 2 licensees. Describing the product, providing perspectives, comparing products, and HP, especially in the last decade or more, has tried those, what I consider smart, intelligent, and clever HP employees, they say, hey, this user community has a lot of knowledge and experience. Why don't we try to draw upon that and use it? So in terms of what we have in the market and how does it compare to the competition, from a user perspective, that's important. And I remember one conference, I don't remember who was general manager at the time. It was before Sam Kim. And he stood up in the room and he said, well, what I would really like from you users is that you help us in describing our calculators so that they are distinctive. What makes our products distinctive in the marketplace, which is standard, of course, for all products. Studying the market, we go do that. And of course, providing inputs for what is needed for the next model. We do this in our sleep without thinking. It's part of our nature. Conveying user perspectives. We've had lots of examples up to this point in presentations. We're the users. And we are applying these products in ways that we need them and use them. And I mentioned, distinguishing HPs over other machines. Books, and this is where the time limitation, I know there's a lot of books, and especially in the early days. 50 years ago was a long time. Bob, what did you have, for lunch 50 years ago today? Did you have lunch 50 years ago today?
I give up.
Yeah, well, so unless you can go to some documentation and search it, there's no way you can know. So Recall 20 was an incredible undertaking. It's a wonderful book, very well done. And usually if you make a very successful movie, you have a sequel. And today, the directors in the movie business, they don't think in terms of making a movie. They want to make a franchise. You all know what that is, right? But probably the most incredibly successful one was the James Bond movies, right? Okay, magazines. The Wall Street Journal magazine, that comes to mind. Like I say, some of these topics are lacking detail because I was lacking time to pull out appropriate and meaningful examples. How many people have not ever, or have never heard of, the famous Bill Wicks article in the Trial Wall Street Journal magazine? Okay. What happened was, that's good, that's not bad, that's good, sorry. Bill Wicks wrote an article. First of all, the Wall Street Journal decided, well, we've got this newspaper and we would like to go into the magazine business and make some more money, because that's why you do that. And so they put together an issue and gathered up people in various activities, topics that they were going to cover in the magazine, and they had an article, because at the time calculators were all big. How many people have never heard the term calcu-nut? Calcu-nut. Okay, that's all right. Do you remember what the title was? It was really heavy on the 41.
The title was Calcu-Nuts. It was written by Hugh Kenner, who was BBC
Ah.
number 103.
Right.
And
And I mentioned this from a personal perspective of documenting, because Kenner put examples in there, and I don't remember. I may have worked with him, talked to him and what have you, and then when he talked about barcode, he gave an example of barcode. And if you had a 41 and you scanned the barcode, guess what it said? Join PPC.
He called me on the phone and had me create that barcode, and I
There you go. There, see. Articles and involvement in supporting authors or what have you, that's part of documenting. And you don't always get the byline, but you're happy because you're promoting the activity. Byte. I don't know if it was Jake or somebody, maybe it was Gene, had mentioned, I remember your article in Byte. Well, I don't. I'm sorry. I always have a mental mystery regarding Byte. Now, at the time Byte magazine started, there were a number of other newsletters and magazines all dedicated to this new grand phenomenon which we know today as the personal computer. And Byte, and I would like to be conclusively proved wrong, but every time I find somebody that would actually know the answer to this question, my memory is wrong. But I remember receiving from the original founders of Byte magazine because I was a co-worker in this field, so we shared stuff all the time, and they sent me a photocopy of the first issue of Byte. And here's where my memory is challenged. I swear that first issue was called issue number 0. And the reason I remember that, Eric says, no, you're wrong, is that computer people count from 0. People count from 1. Okay? And of course, I don't have to expound upon data file. Okay, letters. Letters to the editor, of course, is a good way of documenting something. There's a famous letter, only famous in certain circles, of a letter written to Hewlett Packard and HP CEO Carly. Carly was not viewed for most of us, I guess. I don't want to speak for all of you. Some of you may have loved her, but she, really kind of messed up HP. That's all I'll say. What? Who? Jim Donnelly. Would you agree or disagree with what I said?
Well, my history there is complicated because I knew it. So I will agree that she failed in her duties as.
I can't hear, so simple answer, yes or no?
She blew it.
She did, okay. If you can't poke fun at your politicians, why are you living, and corporate leaders? From the letters, you could also include emails because people don't write letters much anymore today. It's email. Eric mentioned that you recovered a lot of emails, right? I mean,
message board posts.
Okay. No, that's okay.
Similar.
All right, here's the letter. This is a complete letter. Dear Bill, now the reason this was written was the fact that I think this is, and Jake, correct me, this is 2000. What was the year that HP was going to sell their computer group? They put it on the market. Was that 2000?
It was up in the corner.
You remember?
So it's on the letterhead, the date.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that why did we write this letter?
In the first paragraph, we understand is now considering discontinuing the product line.
Going off calculators.
HP is now considering discontinuing the product line that started. Okay, but it didn't say that they were going to sell the computer group to another company, all right? But anyway, the idea was that we felt that the HP calculator line was threatened and we wanted to do something about it. Is that wrong for a calculator user group to do? The reason I make that statement is that some people thought I was doing the right thing, and others people thought I was simply crazy. Should I read it? If you can't read it, Roger's come up here so he can read it. Although the market for these machines has shifted from the technical user to the student in the past 10 years or so, the basis and need for the product still remains the same. Hewlett Packard's reputation, quality, brand name, and vision helped launch unique applications by many third parties. In addition, they inspired powerful and unique solutions in many professional markets such as surveyors, data collectors, professionals in engineering, education, and finance. We believe that there has been a tendency to abandon these values in order to compete with and follow other companies. The recently released high-end product, the HP 49G, is just one such example. However, we believe that HP can reestablish its leadership. Of course, it's kind of maybe bad form to kind of imply, without, anyway. And its leadership with good product marketing based on superior product design and support. In this connection, we believe that bringing the teachers together to develop a proper infrastructure will foster better product adaptation. Teachers, as early adopters of technology, play a key role in the success of these products in the education marketplace. As passionate technical users of HP's machines, we are willing to raise to the occasion and lend a helping hand if the need arises. We still see hope for the day that nearly every high school and college student will use the HP calculator. We appeal to you to help find a way to achieve this goal and keep the HP calculator vision alive. Now, this was sent to HP, and there was an answer, and then he died. So here's the signees. Some of you are in this room. Blah blah blah. Number 4 here, Bob Dobkin, was an enthusiastic HP calculator user, and he was a brilliant IC designer, and we kind of commiserated and what have you. In fact, I visited National Semiconductor, the company that spun off from that, and we talked a lot about circuits and so forth, and I visited, he was up in the Bay Area and so on. Anyway, you don't know who Bob Dobkin is. I'm just telling you. Roger Hill, James Horn, Joseph's brother, Joseph Horn. Do you remember writing this, Joseph? Do you remember participating in this? Oh, yeah. Okay. Velodic, myself, Jake, Stephen Thomas is on here. Remember this, Stephen?
I do not remember this at all.
There you go.
But then again, I don't remember what I had for lunch.
There you go. Okay, now, for me, this is more educational from another perspective, all right? We had, I think about 60 people participated in this writing project. I drafted the first part, and then everybody else tore it apart, okay? And that's how we arrived at the final letter. 19 end up signing. And that was the part that I was very surprised. It's like, I'm asking you, let's do this thing, and all of a sudden when it comes time to do it, 80% of you run away and say, well, I don't want to be part of this. So I came up with 18 reasons not to sign, and to me this didn't reflect well on the group. Okay, here are the reasons. Both Ron Johnson and Paul Hubbard of the CHIP chapter did not want to sign the letter, much to my surprise. I sent a list of 10 reasons to Ron. 1, bitterness at how HP has treated people, not having much interest in calculators, not wanting to become involved, exposing yourself. Why? It will do no good. This is really a very common one, okay? In any human activity, there are participants and spectators. I am usually the latter. I'm never part of the crowd. I don't like at least one person on the signers list. I don't support / like the person handling the mechanics of the letter. I guess that reflects on me. I am a grouch / cynic by nature. I think that HP should not be in the calculator business. So Ron's response, a few more, some of which are my reasons. Number 11, this may do harm instead of good. Unintended consequences, the previous negativity was very likely to cause harm, particularly to the only people in HP who appear to have an interest in building calculators. I don't care for the emphasis on teachers and students. I'm not in school anymore. My needs are different. In addition, the letter does not address my needs. Mr. Hewlett is retired. Let him stay that way. Ms. Fiona might not appreciate meddling from a retired founder. The letter does not make a business case for continuation. The letter's appeal to sentiment and history is weak. At a local Q/PPC meeting, Dave Shear added another reason. How many people know Dave Shear? Okay, a few of you do, old timers. Some people believe that they are not qualified to judge either HP as a company or the market for their machines. They don't have any expertise. A non-calculator interested friend, a girlfriend,
Read the letter.
read the letter and explained why she would sign the letter even though she didn't know the details about HP and its history of making calculators. This suggested another reason, number 18. I am not the type of person who signs a letter just to support a friend. Number 9, programs. And this, when I found this, thank you, Jake, for having it on your DVD. This is from the very first conference in San Francisco. Was it in Oakland? Who was there?
Santa Clara.
Santa Clara. Yeah, okay, right. And I drew this out, and I used this because it could illustrate a number of different things. First of all, I don't know if you can tell by the font or the what have you, but clearly this is typed on a typewriter and hand drawn and all that. User instructions, diagrams, charts, figures, photos. These are all elements of documentation for a program. Number 10, conference papers. I only drew out WestCon as an example. There were several others, and like I said, I just ran out of time looking through and trying to get it all organized. WestCon was one of 2 conferences that had calculator sessions. Now this, WestCon is an engineering conference for engineers, and it's been going on for a long time. I'm not sure if it exists today. I submitted papers for several. Jake has scanned them all. This is, I wonder if this is out of order. Okay. This is the contents of the first conference we held. Now, at this point, I want to strongly reiterate that to me, a conference like this does, number one, I'm talking about the presenters. They write a paper. From the paper, they may prepare a PowerPoint presentation. Then the PowerPoint presentation is put into a PDF form to be more widely usable to the world. So this is, I typed this up on a typewriter. So the first presentation was RPN History by John Kennedy. How many people remember John Kennedy? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, the old timers. All right. John Kennedy was a math professor at Santa Monica. I think it was Santa Monica College. He's since retired, and he was on the PPC board. And this is another mystery to me. I think I understand, but you never know. Emmett Ingram was a real slick salesman, and when it came time to at the board meeting to kick out Richard, 100% of the board, Schwartz is looking at me because he's one of them, voted get rid of him.
Is he still around?
And John Kennedy was one of those, right? Richard, remember? Richard was the secretary. Okay, I covered some programming, DSC and ISG subroutines. And then there's the Westcon papers. Here's one, Present and Future Trends in Handheld Calculator Systems by David Conklin and Bernie Muesch. Wow. Now, how many people remember who Bernie Muesch was? Of course, yeah, of course. You two HP guys for sure. And Bernie was, first of all, he's an incredible person. Would you both agree? I mean, he's a good manager and what have you. And I got along fine with Bernie, but Bernie was sort of one of these remain in the background and support the club, all right? Didn't do it outrightly, but all the things behind the scenes were all supporting the club. And I remember talking to him about some of the decisions that were made for various models. The 75 was one. There was another one that went on to be trying to break into a new type of machine. Anyway, another one here is Naval Applications of Programmable Handheld Calculators by Rex H. Schutte. And Rex was a professor at the Naval Postgraduate School. And I was invited up there to give a presentation to the professors there. And so we were good friends. Now, Rex Schutte, he wrote in the early days of the 65 especially, there were, when you got into astronomy, the field of astronomy, which included accurate timekeeping and navigation and that type of stuff in terms of the topics, there were two groups. One group was called astronomers. The other group was called Bob is giving me, I'll rush Bob. Was called astrologers. And Rex Schutte wrote most of the users library programs that covered astrology. Had his department had known that he did, he'd be probably thrown out. Then myself, Jim Horn, Joseph, your brother, HP phone storage displays and anomalies. Printer applications, Jake Schwartz. Bruce Murdoch. I won't go into Bruce. I can tell you lots of stories about Bruce. And then incrementing, solve, and integrate on the HP 34C by Dennis Harms. Remember Dennis? Okay. Chuck, you remember Dennis? Oh, yeah, okay. And then one of the big kingpins in numerical computation, implementing, solve, and integrate on the HP 34C by
Integrate. Integrate is by Kahan.
huh?
Integrate is by Kahan.
Yes, Dennis Harms was in there too, but William Kahn is the person who was a consultant to HP, and he could be considered not the father of the 12C, because the 12C would include software and hardware, but certainly the algorithms and the mathematical accuracy. He's the guy. And to this day, all of the follow-on financial calculators are compared to the 12C, and if you don't get the same answer, the obviously are wrong. Kind of a thing. And that's the conference schedule, but okay. Observations and conclusions. Either I'm missing a slide or it's coming up. 50 years ago, we did not have computers, convenient text editing, digital cameras, email, or the internet. Originally, I was thinking of cover the 50 years with examples from each 5-year segment. The researching time available did not allow for such detail. I divided the documentation into 12 categories, blah, 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 and I have 3 appendices. Appendix A is an article I wrote. It was in a previous conference proceedings. Remembering the HP 35A, I think that I use that as a reference of documenting, and primarily because it contains information you just don't find elsewhere. Explaining technical detail, writing. And if any of you read that, I appreciate any feedback, because I make a few statements in there that are just contrary. Like one of them is, when I take on a writing project, I don't research it on the internet until I'm done. And a lot of people, what? Anyway, you have to read that. And then the letter of Bill we have. Okay, here's a slide. In our community, not in all of the user community, but in our community, these are the major, what I call major documentation projects. Jake Schwartz, #1, with videotaping HHCs in 1986 starting. Eric Recklin with his hpcalc website starting in 1997. Jake Schwartz was scanning HP docs in 1998. Felix Gross with docs.bibliography in 2008. Myself with the patents. Eric Recklin, YouTube HHC videos in 2000. Gene Wright with the vintage calc ads. And Eric Recklin again was copying the USB drives in 2017, and Eric Recklin was scanning the HP docs. Of those that you've done, Eric, which one are you most proud of?
The hpcalc.org site from 26 years ago to the present really led to everything else. So if not for that, nothing else would have happened.
So
I think that's what I'm most proud of.
Great. Put the sign down, Bob. I'm leaving.
I put it away.
No, I'm not.
I put it away. It served its purpose.
All right, any questions? Oh, come on, please. You give me one. Joseph, ask me one question anyway. Okay.
I got one. Are you done documenting?
No.
Right
So this is not the
That's
end.
the right answer.
Well, the end of the presentation, I don't know what the future is. When I retired, I said I got all the time in the world, and I call what I write about writing projects. And in my bio, which is at the very end of this, and it's not here, I would encourage you all to look at the paper. Now, unfortunately, it's 60 pages long, okay? And when you see the page count on the bottom, you say, I'm not going to read this 60 pages. Yes?
I have a very critical remark to your presentation.
Okay.
Why didn't you use the logo for the HHC 2023 as supposed on the website? You simply wrote there HHC 2023, and we all were supposed to use the logo.
Ah. Okay.
He was trying to see if
He's right. He's absolutely correct.
Of course.
And I'll tell you why. I forgot how I did it. I was in a hurry. This is not, a work to be proud of, per se. Any others? All right, shall we continue on according to the schedule? All right.